In tonight's dispatches, your credit secrets uncovered.
Punched in all of the details, and back came my credit rating, poor. The only thing I needed that needed a credit check was an £8 a month mobile phone, which was ridiculous.
How someone else's financial problems can cost you dear.
Couldn't get an overdraft. I wanted a washing machine from a catalogue. I can't have that because a bad credit report.
We go undercover inside Britain's largest credit reference agency.
Hi, you're through to Credit Expert. Can I take a name or reference number, please?
And we ask, are they telling us everything?
How is it? How are customers supposed to know that? We're not. This is a flaw with our system.
That's an interesting sum up to that footage, isn't it? A flaw in our system.
Yes, that's the quote, isn't it? The system's flawed.
Every time we spend, borrow or pay a bill, we are being watched by a credit reference agency. Many of us don't even know who they are, but it's their job to give every one of us a number.
Now, this one number is so influential. It can indicate whether you get the mortgage, loan, or even mobile phone deal that you're after. It's called your credit score.
The information that credit reference agencies hold is really powerful, and the reason is that it's used by a whole range of companies, from mortgage lenders through to credit card providers through to mobile phone companies. And the idea is that it helps lenders to be able to make quick decisions about whether or not we're creditworthy.
Here in the UK, there are three main credit reference agencies: Experian, Equifax and Call Credit. Every time we sign up to a financial deal, we agree to share our details with them. They use these to compile a credit report on each of us. The agencies then sell that information to whoever is looking at giving us credit, so they can work out whether we are a good or bad risk. You might think they'd all come to the same conclusion, but do they? We decided to put the three main credit reference agencies to the test, with a group of people who really know how to take care of their brass.
John and Rebecca, your husband and wife, aren't you? What did you find out when you checked your credit report?
It was very interesting. Equifax didn't show up one of the mortgages I had maybe 4 or 5 years ago. £100,000 mortgage you'd expect to be on there. But at the same time, BT didn't show up on Experian, so there are definitely anomalies between the two.
The Experian one was sort of in the top 5th in the excellent category, and the Equifax one was sort of only good. Yet the details on the two of them were the same.
Why the difference?
I have no idea.
What's confusing is that each agency has its own scoring system. And for example, Equifax told us that some companies, like John's mortgage lender, don't share their information with all the agencies.
Any mistakes on yours, Paul?
It didn't show up the current account or the overdraft, and I've obviously, being a student, I've used the overdraft fairly extensively over the last couple of years.
Cornet player Brian found on one of his reports a car loan showed up as credit rather than money owed.
Which company made that mistake on your report?
The mistake was on Experian, but the Equifax and the Call Credit ones were correct.
With credit reference agencies serving as the gatekeeper to so many things financial, a mistake on your report could dramatically affect your access to loans and the rates you're charged.
So how do you find out about those errors? Well, guess what? You've got to pay for it. Either £2 for a basic report, or for £14.99 a month, Experian promises, if anything is incorrect, just tell us and we'll help.
That's what Deputy Head Teacher Ros Canning hoped for when she signed up. She'd been receiving debt collection letters claiming she owed more than £600 to an online shopping company, a company she'd never even heard of.
Ros, as a clean living, debt-free person, what were your thoughts when letters from debt collection agencies arrived?
Well, I was initially pretty shocked and actually upset. I was a bit frightened too, because you don't know when they're going to come knocking at the door. So it's not a nice experience at all.
Ros paid her $14.99 a month. She then checked her credit report and found the online shopping company had listed her at an address she didn't recognise.
I had a look and I found this very strange address linked to my name.
And what happened when I'm assuming you contacted Experian and said, there's a bit of a problem with my record here?
I did, and I asked them to remove this address, which was linked to my name. But they said that they were unable to remove it and that the loan company who had put it on there, they were the only people who could remove it.
Ros found Experian's promise to help if anything is incorrect didn't quite meet her expectations. She was told it was down to her to contact the debt collection agency directly and prove she wasn't responsible. Despite sending them and Experian all the right information, 18 months on, the wrong address was still on her credit report and lowering her score.
You've paid the money to Experian, you've pointed out the mistake. Doesn't it seem fair that they would remove that error so it's accurate?
It certainly doesn't seem fair, and I don't like it, and it bothers me.
So what would Experian say?
I was really sad, actually, to see this case, because this is an example of where we got it wrong. Due to a human error, we missed it. We've held our hands up and we've given Ms Canning a full apology.
How many other human errors have occurred with people like Ros Canning?
Well, whilst these cases are always absolutely regrettable, I'm pleased to say we see very few incidences like this, but we take them very seriously, and you can rest assured we've undertaken a full review to do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Customers have said that mistakes have happened again and again. A 2011 report by consumer watchdog Which found 1 in 8 customers of credit reference agencies claimed they had an error on their report. Experian promises it takes the accuracy of its data very seriously. Yet a survey by the industry's regulator, the Information Commissioner, found that more than a quarter of Experian's customers claimed their reports contained inaccurate information. It was time to go undercover. This is Experian's Nottingham base, home to their customer services team. After 6 weeks training, our undercover reporter would become a qualified advisor on Experian's credit expert team.
In detail. Hi, future credit expert. Can I take a name or reference number, please?
She'll be working for an international company that holds data on 45 million of us here in the UK.
For many of us, credit isn't a luxury, it's a necessity to pay for things that you can't afford in one big lump sum. And if you want it quickly to pick up a bargain, then an accurate and up-to-date credit report is vital.
Once a month, each lender sends updated information, like if you've just cleared a debt, to Experian. This can affect our credit report.
But there will be times when you just cannot wait a full month to get an up-to-date credit report. What happens then? Well, you may just miss out on something you've really set your heart on.
Our undercover reporter discovered that it's possible to get your credit information bang up to date much more quickly. That means any important changes could be made in as little as 48 hours. Experian calls this a rapid update. It promises, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get your information correct and up to date. But in training, our reporter was told not to tell customers about the Rapid Updates facility available on Systems, Merlin and Portal.
List of lenders who can do this can be found on Merlin and Portal. Do you think you need to check that list?
Yeah.
No. Because you would never ever tell a customer to go and ask for a rapid update. If lenders found out that we were telling customers that they can update their information quicker, it's going to upset them.
During training, our reporter was told that each rapid update costs the lenders money.
But yeah, you don't mention rapid update. We used to, but it's only in the last few months we've been saying, no, don't say that.
Why is that?
Because it costs lenders money, and the lenders have been quite good onto the fact that we've all been telling them to do it, and they're like, you're costing us money, stop doing it.
When your trainer told our reporter, and this is the quote, you would never tell a customer to go for a rapid update, what did he mean?
Well, the situation is lenders have this manual overnight system for correcting mistakes, and that's incredibly important.
Yeah, but why was he saying you would never tell a customer to go for a rapid update? It's going to upset the lender.
The majority of the queries we get, that isn't actually relevant to, because they relate to routine updates and not correcting mistakes.
But he's not saying about the relevance, he's saying it's going to cost the lender money.
Well, that's not correct.
And that's why you weren't telling them.
There's no charge for lenders to process urgent updates. In the vast majority of cases, it's simply not the appropriate system to use, which is why we don't routinely flag it up to people.
But he doesn't say routinely, he says you would never tell a customer to go for a rapid update. So just react to that quote, James.
It's actually irrelevant in many cases, simply because in the majority of cases, if people get in touch and actually flag up an error to us, we'll actually take the matter up for them and we'll go to the lender.
In training, though, our reporter was told...
Well, we wouldn't do it. So, as a general rule, and something I'm going to keep going over this week, what's the first thing we tell a customer to do if there's something wrong? Go speak to the lender. We do not tell them, we suggest it. And why do we suggest it? Because it's quicker, yes? That's what you've got to try and get in your heads. If you can find a reason why we don't need to query something for a customer, your call is going to be quicker.
From what you've told us, we've identified a training issue, actually, with the trainer in question there. I understand the individual was actually quite new to that post, and in some cases appears to have gone off script. It's not our policy, for instance, to simply refer people to the lender when a mistake is identified to us.
Paul White turned to Experian when he had a problem getting a little help from his bank.
Well, basically, I went to the bank and asked for an overdraft because I'd recently had money come out of my bank and there wasn't money to cover it. And when I applied for it, basically it said that I couldn't have it because I had a bad credit score.
What did you do after that?
I hunted around on the internet and I found Experian's website. I went on there and I found a CCJ of more than £50,000 on my credit report.
Whose was it?
I had no idea at first, and then I kind of twigged it actually belonged to a member of my family with the same name.
The CCJ, or County Court judgment, related to an unpaid mortgage. The trouble was, there were two Paul Whites living at the address where the CCJ was listed. Experian Systems added it to the wrong Paul White's credit report. Paul wanted Experian to clear up the confusion and stop circulating incorrect information about him. So he signed up to their monthly subscription.
It's affected me in a lot of different ways, especially because I couldn't get an overdraft. I wanted a washing machine from a catalogue. I can't have that because a bad credit report.
And you've also got a partner. Any effect on her?
Not as yet, but it's quite possibly will do in the future. She wants a mortgage, and there's no way on earth getting a mortgage with this.
After an exchange of emails, Experian told Paul he could prove the CCJ was not his by signing a declaration witnessed by a solicitor or a commissioner for oaths. Paul assumed that he wouldn't be able to afford this, so to this day, the CCJ remains wrongly on his Experian credit report.
It all ends up that it's money that's got to come out of my pocket. For me to get rid of it, it's costing me money, and it's not my mistake. I don't think I should have to pay the money for it.
In fact, Paul could have got his declaration witnessed and his CCJ removed for just £5, something he says he can't remember being told about.
There's one Paul White on the electoral roll at that address. This judgment is registered in the name of Paul White at that address. I think it was reasonable for us to have included that on his credit report.
Reasonable, but not 100% accurate.
Well, as I say, if we can get evidence to indicate, to confirm that the judgment doesn't in fact relate to Paul White at this address, then we can make that amendment straight away.
Do you think it's fair that it's Paul's job to rectify that mistake?
I think we all have a role to play in making sure credit reports are accurate and up to date.
Coming up, the MP left high and dry by the quirks of the credit system.
Because of your credit reference, we've reduced your rating. An 80% reduction in credit, overnight, unannounced.
And how someone else's debt could end up in your name.
Who does it assign it to, the father or the son? So it'll show up on both the reports as a financial aid. Because how a person's supposed to know that? They're not, which is a flaw of our system.
On tonight's Dispatches, we're uncovering the secrets of your credit rating and how it affects you. It doesn't matter how much money you have or who you are, these private companies pass judgment on all of us. As retired construction manager Trevor Wright discovered, after 30 years working in the Middle East, he has a tidy house, mortgage-free, a nice car, no finance, and is enjoying his retirement. But there was one thing Trevor was missing: a mobile phone contract.
Well, I'd had a pay-as-you-go card for a while I was working overseas because I needed to get in touch with friends and relatives when I came home. So when I did eventually come home, I got in touch with that company and they offered me what seemed to be a good deal, and I said, fine, that's good. But a few hours later, they rang back and said, sorry, we can't do your deal. And I said, why not? I'm afraid your credit rating is not good enough. A credit reference agency has given you a poor report.
Trevor signed up to Experian's Credit Expert package to find out more about his credit score.
Sure enough, punched in all of the details, and back came my credit rating, poor. So this can't be right. So I rang Experian and said, why am I getting a poor credit rating? You know, I've got lots of assets and a credit record, as far as I know, with my MasterCard.
Trevor had two problems. His recent return to the UK meant he was not on the electoral roll, and he'd opened his account before banks shared information with credit reference agencies. Experian gave him a poor score, an indication to lenders he was a credit risk.
I've been paying cash for things for 30 years. I bought this house for cash, bought the car for cash. All the furniture has all been bought for cash when we moved back. The only thing I needed that needed a credit check was an £8 a month mobile phone, which was ridiculous.
10 or 15 years ago, most lenders would have done their own checks to find out whether we were worthy of their money. These days, most use credit reports to help make that decision. Experian promises that if you subscribe to its Credit Expert service, it shows you what a lender sees. This is important. It allows customers to check information the lender is using to decide whether to give you credit and at what rate. This is what our undercover reporter was told during her training.
Do lenders and customers see different reports?
Essentially, it can happen. If a customer puts all of their details in, i.e. all of their names, all of their addresses and everything, then they will see their entire credit report. If they don't, then they won't see their entire credit report. But a lender does not require credit expert. They will get everything anyway.
Customers are asked to list all their addresses for the past 6 years. What wasn't crystal clear to us is that if a customer forgets an address, they may not see the same report as the lenders. It was only after carefully searching Experian's website that Dispatches found any reference to the possibility that a lender may see a different report.
It's not that easy to see, though, on your website, is it?
It is on our website. If you don't think we make it as clear as we possibly could, then we will take that on board and we will carry out a review.
Our reporter soon discovered something on Experian systems that she was told the lender sees, but the customer doesn't.
It's like noodle and model. It's a flaw with the system, and it's a flaw with the lender. So it's where, say you've got Joe Blogg's son and Joe Blogg's father, both named the same name. Date of births are different, but the information from account report judgment doesn't have the date of birth. It has the address. Potential alias, who does it assign it to, the father or the son? So it'll show up on both the reports as a potential alias.
What's different about this to the other wrong information we've seen on people's credit reports is that you don't get to see your potential alias. So if you don't get to see it, how can you challenge it if the information's wrong?
Our reporter asked about this when one caller found out from another credit reference agency about a county court judgment wrongly attached to his name. He couldn't view it on his Experian report and was worried it was affecting his credit rating.
Does it show up on the lender's report, that potential alias?
It can do.
So that could be a reason why it was stopping him from getting credit.
I mean, if he's...
Thank you, credit expert. How can I help you today? Then how are customers supposed to know that? Because obviously they don't see potential aliases.
They're not. This is a flaw of our system, which is why I think it's getting updated. There's something called Project Mort that's been in the pipeline for a while, where, you know, things like these linked addresses not getting put on and blah blah blah. It's supposed to sort all of that out. It's because our systems are quite old, I'll be honest.
We showed our footage to credit expert Damon Gibbons.
That's an interesting sum up to that footage, isn't it? A flaw in our system.
Yes, that's the quote, isn't it? The system's flawed. Pieces of information are put on the wrong records by the system itself. Perhaps there is information that you don't know about, which is being given to lenders, connected with your credit report, and there's no process, as far as I can see, by which, you know, you're alerted to that and get to challenge it.
What about when it comes to a potential alias? Do we see what the lender sees?
So this is a process that was brought in around 2001, and it's a way of dealing with ambiguous data that could relate to more than one person registered at an address. It's a process that was agreed between lenders, the credit reference agencies and the regulator.
But we don't get to see it, is that correct? And the lender does?
If the information wasn't confirmed to relate to you, then no, you would not see it, because that...
But would the lender then see that?
The data would be made available for the lenders to review and take steps to verify.
But didn't you just say we see what the lender sees, and in this case, we don't?
Well, as I say, you have to have systems in place to deal with potential discrepancies and ambiguous information like this. We believe the system works well for people, and information is only brought, as I say, into someone's credit report if steps are taken to confirm it relates to them.
But if the lender's seeing it, how do you know it won't have any impact on their ability to get credit?
Because it's not allowed to be used for a lending decision unless the lender's taken steps to verify it relates to their customer.
My question is, so why are you providing that information to them if it doesn't have any impact on their ability to lend credit?
Well, the information may be relevant to the customer, which is why it's provided as potential alias information in a way that's been agreed between lenders, regulators and the credit reference agencies.
MP John Mann has first-hand experience of mistakes on credit reports. It all started 4 years ago when his own bank mixed up the well-paid man at Westminster with a rather less well-off John Mann in another part of the country.
I'd received someone's bank statement who wasn't me, but had the same name and the same date of birth. But then I found I couldn't get credit from my credit card. So I knew something was seriously wrong. And when I rang the bank and checked out about the credit card, they said, well, because of your credit reference, we've reduced your rating and you're down to £1,750 credit, an 80% reduction in credit, overnight, unannounced.
When John checked his Experian report, he found it had added the bank's mistake, which in turn had affected his credit score.
I found that I couldn't make fairly basic payments, simple travel payments, such as to and from Parliament, because someone somewhere has deemed me to be a bad credit reference.
Experian says it helped to resolve the issue successfully. But John isn't just an MP. He's also a member of the Treasury Select Committee that's looked at credit reference agencies in the past.
To have a healthy financial services industry in this country, there needs to be openness and transparency, and that is lacking with credit reference agencies.
Well, we don't accept that. We operate under very tight regulation already, and that's how it should be. We're licensed by the Office of Fair Trading, and that responsibility is soon to transfer to the Financial Conduct Authority, and we're very closely scrutinised by the Information Commissioner's Office.
Experian is one of 3 credit reference agencies investigated last year by the Federal Trade Commission in the US. It found around 40 million American customers' credit reports had problems with them. Is it time to take a closer look at the way credit reference agencies work in the UK?
I do think there's a real problem with the idea that this information, which is very, very valuable to these companies, is being used to make decisions about us, but we don't have the right, an automatic right, to see a copy of it sent out to us every year free of charge.
Why do you charge us to check our Experian credit report?
The law actually provides a facility for people to get hold of a one-off copy of their credit report for the nominal fee of £2, and we think that's incredibly important.
Some might look at this and say, aren't we doing you a favour by checking whether your information is correct? Shouldn't we be charging you?
Well, the £2 fee is basically an administration fee and actually doesn't cover the cost of us providing credit reports to the public. But that said, I think it's a really important part of our work. It's a matter of law and it's something we very much support.
3 years ago, the Treasury Select Committee recommended an independent audit of the credit reference agencies to check the accuracy of their information.
Has that happened?
Not that I'm aware of. And I think what we need to do is we need to get them back in, have a proper inquiry. They should be top of our list and they need sorting out, and we should be doing that, and we should be doing it very quickly.
But review or no review, credit reference agencies are now a significant part of our lives, whether we like it or not. They hold vast amounts of data on almost every adult in the UK. Those who've fallen foul of the system through no fault of their own say while credit reference agencies are watching us, is enough being done to watch them.